here.
Crazy Toys.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite inconsistent adamantium line skeleton's favorite nerd, and today we are talking about the film Logan.
You're about to say the Wolverine.
I was. This is a spoiler-free
Kind of
review and our kind of reaction. If you want the spoilerific reaction, tune in to next week's Nerd Rage Radio. Also, while I'm on the topic, I've gotten a lot of people hit me up about thoughts on Rogue One.
Oh.
That's on episode 69 of Nerd Rage Radio. The night that we saw Rogue One, we didn't have time to do all sorts of stuff afterwards, but we have a lengthy discussion on episode 69 of Nerd Rage Radio, as well as an interview with our wives.
Bobby hated it.
It's not a fact. So, tonight I'm joined by Mr. Adam Rustin, co-host of Nerd Rage Radio, and we're having a couple beers and a Crazy Toy.
Crazy Toy.
And we're going to discuss Wolverine, or Logan rather, and we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly as we always do. It'll be brief, to the point, and we're going to wrap it up kind of early tonight because I think we're both pretty tired.
It's been a long day.
So, what was the good?
The good was the acting off the front. I think that everybody brought a top caliber performance, with the exception of kind of the main bad guy. And he's not even like a bad guy. He's kind of like a glorified henchman. Mm-hmm. It's actually, you don't really know his motivations. He is a nasty fellow, but not that nasty. What was his name? Don't remember.
Goldtooth.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, it's 2029. You think that would have something better.
Some sort of better
and
dentistry.
And like the cap on there wasn't even that good. It was very off, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely looked like it was sitting on top of a tooth that was just fine.
Just fine. It was almost like as if it was a fashion statement.
Yeah.
We're getting into the bad. Let's keep to the good.
Yeah.
X-23 did amazing. She was kick-ass. Dang it.
That's fine.
Okay. Even though I think that she was a little young. And it wasn't the choice of her age that became a problem with me. It's just other things. That's getting into the bad.
It's hard.
It is. I think this was a good conclusion of this Wolverine story that we've been looking at for 17 years now.
Yikes.
That's crazy. I mean, if you start to look at it from that type of scale, I mean, I remember I won tickets to see X-Men. I think it was 2000 it came out from DC 101. And I had some people that... Well, actually, I didn't even win them. Ryan's wife won them. But she brought my wife and I and him and like 3 or 4 other people. And we saw like a sneak preview before anybody else. And... else. Like, Jesus.
I saw... I saw a movie early, too. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was an X-Men movie. I'm not sure what it was.
They're just giving tickets away.
It might have been X3.
I think Hugh Jackman did an awesome job as well. Wolverine's life sucks, man. Like every aspect of it. Like it's one of those. He's one of those superheroes. Like he'd be in like your top 5 of people to be if you could. You know, like he's got really cool powers. You think that he have it all figured out. You know, I mean, if you live for a long time and heal instantly and had sexy hair, facial hair like that, and claws that you could pop out anytime and pretty much cut anything in half.
Well, that's the cool thing about Wolverine.
Yeah, they're always accessible.
Instantly accessible.
Yeah.
How
about you?
So I think the acting too is the top shelf, and I think that the tone of the movie was really
done respectfully.
Yeah, it was done seriously. It was taken seriously in that regard, and I enjoyed it. It seemed like it wasn't going to be. It seemed like nothing was going to be. I don't know. Like tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed like it was all going to be taken very seriously, and I dug the tone and the acting. I think X-23. I think she did a great job.
Yeah.
She's not how I want to see X-23, but I think that the young actress. You know, my litmus test is always Jake Lloyd as Anakin.
Oh God.
So every time I see like a child actor that does like a kick-ass job, there I just. I'm like, why didn't they get her? She could have played Anakin.
Yeah.
But she did a great job, and. Let's see if I think there's...
Did you get like a modern Western... I mean, I know it takes place in the West, but there was kind of this modern Western vibe to it. You didn't get that at all?
Not at all.
Like a Western type story?
No. Western type story, yes. There are parts of it that felt like a modern Western to me, but once a couple things changed throughout the storyline. It sort of took a different turn to me. Like, and I guess that's an element of the Western, but it's not what people think of when they think of Westerns. But like in like the third act of the movie, it's more about like, you know, almost conquering the wild frontier in a way.
Yeah.
So like that's an element of Westerns, yes, but it's not what I think of when I think of a Western.
And it's not a classic Western.
Yeah, like the first act seems like a classic Western.
I kind of feel like if somebody came, who was sitting here with us, who was like a subject matter expert in Western film, they would like pick this apart of different aspects of classic Western film. Like I feel like if I started scratching that a little bit, it would show itself to be something deeper than I'm educated.
Yeah, I can see that.
Talk about.
My thing with that is like in the so which kind of brings us to the bad is that like I think that one of the things that I didn't like about the movie is that I did feel like the opening act was kind of a modern Western setting. Yeah. But some of the things didn't make sense to me within that setting, and I don't understand that world.
Yeah.
At first, I felt like they were trying to make some political statements.
Really? Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well now we're kind of moving away from that, but I don't understand why this world, like why this universe seems in disarray at some moments, but then in other moments, like Oklahoma City has like a thriving casino population.
No, that was Vegas.
Was it Vegas? Because I thought they said something about Oklahoma City.
That's when they well, no spoilers, but I think they were just talking. I think that was cover story.
Well, either or. I was just like, why are we in this thriving metropolis area when this world doesn't seem to have this type of lifestyle?
Maybe you're right. Maybe it was Oklahoma City.
But either way, it doesn't ultimately matter. But like on top of that, like I was just like, why? It doesn't seem the culture of the period seems inconsistent to me.
Yes, it does seem. It is a kind of a postmodern culture, but it's future, but it's also kind of timeless. Like it could be 1978, it could be 2008, it could be 2028.
And then there's like kind of like when we drive our fancy Chrysler 300 stretch limo down this street, it seems like a post-apocalyptic world.
Yes.
But then we turn down here, it seems like things are on the up and up. Just move across the street. That's all you got to do, and you'll be fine.
I mean, that sounds probably pretty accurate for 2029.
Maybe.
So.
Let's see. There's plenty of bads that I have about this movie.
The bad for me was there's a lot of inconsistent. Like, all right. So by itself, I think it's a great movie. Like, if I didn't know much about Wolverine going into this, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So it does lean on mythology, but at the same time, there's some conflict of how things work in this film in regards to contrast of how they worked in previous X films. So you could sit there and say, all right, this is kind of based off the X-Men universe, but it's not the X-Men universe. Or you could say, yeah, it's the X-Men universe, maybe. Or you can say, absolutely X-Men universe. And all of that works. And I do believe that the filmmakers left that up to the viewer to decide, because there's vague mentions of things, or almost like Easter egg-esque about it, that makes you reflect. But then there's things that happen, and like if you look at the time period of when this is happening, and the time period of Days of Future Past, which should be around the same time. Actually, Days of Future Past might be in the future, further than 2029, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter, but one of the key elements of the film,
like the story driving element.
It's not.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Like time has shifted, and like the laws of physics in the movie Logan are not the same as in the Days of Future Past, and that may be fine. If you're fine with that, that's fine. But I felt that as I was watching the film, I'm trying to piece together: is it this or is it something else? And I think that it would have been better if they just came out and said it. Like, listen, this is not a sequel. It's based off of those books. It's based off maybe other movies. Maybe what happened in other movies are stories told in this world, but it's not necessarily the same thing.
I would have even been okay if they made some real quick restatement that was kind of like a catch-all.
Yeah.
Like after that Kitty Pryde thing, nothing's been the same.
That would be cool too.
Done.
Yeah.
Done deal. You don't have to worry about it.
It's the same type of thing that you have with Superman, the Donner films 1 and 2, and then the Brandon Routh Superman Returns. It's loosely based on that. They have Marlon Brando playing Jor-El. But besides that, it's not connected to it. You know what I mean? It's the closest thing I could say. So that was kind of distracting.
My just to piggyback off that's my biggest complaint. My biggest complaint is that walking into this movie, if it wasn't Wolverine and Charles specifically, walking into that movie doesn't really make sense. So you need a known shared history of those characters to kind of appreciate this film and appreciate the relationships for the most part in this film.
Almost a known shared understanding of those actors. Yeah. I mean, you need to, you get to see Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart turn it up a notch.
So it thrives on its history in a way,
which isn't bad.
No, not at all. Yeah. But then at the same time, it's very separated from that history, and
it's separated, but it's still a slave to it.
Yeah.
It's
very... that creates a very divisive thing with me about how I feel about it.
Is that something that only exists in comic book films?
Yeah, well, I think...
is that a drawback? Is that the price of admission for comic book films?
I don't think it's necessarily the price for admission.
Yeah.
But I think that the longer it goes on, the more trouble it's going to have.
And especially...
this is one of the longest, if not, this is the longest running comic book universe.
This is this is the ninth one, right?
Yeah, but I mean, just time-wise, 17 years worth of films.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the longest running, and it's had its bumps in the road in terms of continuity, but it's still...
has it?
Yeah, but it's still the longest running. So it's just... there's a part of me that I was watching it, I was like, man, if this wasn't a Wolverine movie, would I think this was good? And I don't think I would. So it needs to be a Wolverine movie for me to think it's good, and then at the same time, it's as good in a way as a lot of the other X-Men stuff, to me, which is to say, not really close enough to the material. And when he says, there's
slight spoiler.
Slightest.
I'm not gonna run the story.
Slightest bit of a spoiler. But
You've been warned.
Within the future, X-Men comics exist that are based off of.
We don't really know.
We assume mutant history.
Yeah.
And he's like at a certain point he's like, it's silly. It's garbage. And I was like, no wonder the writer behind that wrote this. It's been obvious throughout all these movies. That's how you really feel.
Well, yeah, he made a comment like 25% of this stuff happened, and none of it happened like they said. That was pretty much... So that was interesting. But it was interesting because you realize instantly that Logan is aware of the comics. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not like he's like, what is this? There's picture books of me in here, So,
I'm trying to think if there's anything else bad. I don't know. It doesn't. For me, villains are important. It doesn't have a strong villain. There is a physically strong villain that I think was a throwaway choice. So there's a lot about it I'm not crazy about.
There is a lot of man versus himself in this, though.
Yeah, sure. Like anything with Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, like Wolverine's demons.
That's actually a bit of a double entendre.
Yeah, there's his internal demons that are killing him, his external demons that are killing him, and his psychological demons. So it's like the mind, body, and spirit, and on that level, it's smart. And it's one of those things. As I was watching, we were getting to the end of it, and I was like, wow, okay, this is how they're going to do it. That's cool. I'm interested with this. And then I'm like, am I smart enough to appreciate this?
Yeah, I don't think it's that sophisticated. I personally don't think it's that sophisticated of a story.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really don't. And then, any ugly?
The only ugly for me is the glaring nerd distractions. Like, for example, we obviously know, this isn't spoilery, but you obviously know X-23 is X-23 and she's got adamantium claws, right? So, can she not grow any bigger? Because her bones are locked into the size that they're locked into? And I'm thinking about that. It's how is her skeleton going to expand now that it's encased in an unbreakable metal? I guess maybe they didn't cover up her growth plates, left her growth plates there, and only a majority of her skeleton is covered with with adamantium, maybe. And then there's some aspects of the time travel bit, because we've explored time travel in previous films. Stuff isn't equaling out, and that was distracting for me. So that's the biggest thing is that it's bogged down by history. Not that history they mention of, but history they don't mention of, which may make it worse, because then you just don't know where to go from there. But if you can look past that, it's not that ugly. Just don't stare directly into it, because it's pretty ugly then.
The only ugly for me really is, and once again, slight spoiler, but not really spoiler at all. But there's a major sequence of exposition that is told with cell phone footage.
Oh yeah.
But the cell phone footage is actually a fairly intricate, complex, edited piece of cell phone movie.
Now, do you think that you only notice that because you edit film?
Maybe, yeah. But and then there's voiceover and audio tracks and everything else, and I'm like.
And there's footage that she's gotten from other people that's not her footage.
Yeah. So that was pretty ugly to me, and then then there's just this same thing with, we're confused as to whether or not some of these characters that are in it are the characters we think they are or aren't, and that's a problem that these X movies have had throughout their history. Is that they haven't been.
The one consistent thing is how inconsistent they are.
Yeah, they pick and choose which characters they want to pay proper tribute to, and it's something else that's just continued to plague this movie. I know a lot of people are going to like this movie, and I don't think they're wrong for liking this movie. I think it's going to resonate with people, and I'm happy that it does. It's just, unfortunately for me, it's more X-Men cinema that I'm ultimately not interested in seeing.
I think that it's going to go down as a great example of a comic book movie, just because of the. I think there's a lot of care put into it.
I do too.
It's not like a Michael Bay movie where you have one Transformer fighting over here, and then over here it's also fighting, and it's just sloppy filmmaking. I do feel like there was a certain level of artistry that went into it. There's a certain level of care to the characters. I think that pretty much every character who needs to be developed was developed. I'm not saying that we have a great developed bad guy, but there wasn't really a need to develop the main bad guy, like I said before, who's just a glorified henchman. And even him, you get to realize pretty early on that he's a nasty piece of work.
Well, I would have liked to know more about the bad guy, like the real bad guy, and the history and his family history.
But you kind of already know.
I didn't know to the end.
Yeah, but but I
would have liked to have known more about it. I would have liked,
some more flashback scenes or something.
Yeah, just develop. I think there's this thing going on with Marvel films specifically where they just don't develop villains.
Yeah,
they just choose not to. But overall, do you recommend people see it in the theater?
Why not? Why not? I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, go do yourself. Go check it out in the theater. You'll enjoy it. It's a good film, but it's not. It is not your normal superhero movie. So, if you would go to the theater to see something that's going to be a little bit more mature material and more dramatic in nature, and and you don't mind that in the theater, go see it. If you just want to go see a popcorn flick with fighting and that's all that, you can wait for DVD.
There's plenty of fighting though.
Yeah, there's almost too much, but it's graphic. Would you recommend this for kids?
It depends on the kid. That's always my answer. It depends on the kid. But my kids would be fine. The violence doesn't bother them at all. But it would be like what they would get upset about, like him yelling at X-23.
Yeah.
But they'd be like, why is he being so mean?
Graphically yelling at her. It
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just the tone. Why is he being so mean to her? She's a nice girl. But cut out the guy's throat. My kids are like, oh, it's awesome. I'm gonna get some knives in my hands too. I would say if you saw the first film in the theater, go see this one in the theater. Celebrate that body of work.
Yeah.
Now that he's saying, that he's done and he's moving on, see the man's last piece of work. You saw the first, see the end, and celebrate the history of it. If you didn't, if you're a young person and you kind of caught the last couple, and I'd say you could DVD this one actually.
Born after 2000. Best Wolverine movie though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's the best Wolverine movie. In many ways, I think Episode 3 is the best of the prequels.
And probably also in the top of the X movies.
Middle.
In the top half.
I might have to put them on the paper.
Well, there's 9. We already said it's number 4.
Okay, so barely.
Yes.
Middle bracket. If we were to break it into thirds, it'd be in the middle third.
Yes.
Um,
Top of the middle third.
Fair enough. But yeah, I don't necessarily think you need to see in the movies. I think that you can wait for it at home. I think it's a movie that you can enjoy more at home than sitting in a chair.
What if the movie was in black and white?
I would have walked out.
You would have checked out.
I'd have walked out. I tried to go to sleep during the movie at a certain point. That's a fact. I took my sweatshirt off and I rolled it up and I tried to go to sleep during it. I didn't care for the movie. I didn't like it. There's a lot of people that are going to like it, and that's awesome. And I get where they're coming from, but I didn't like it. And I'm not the anti.
Oh, look at you go!
Yeah, I liked Days of Future Past a lot, and I like X2.
First Hope.
And First Pass is okay.
First Hope.
First Hope. So I'm not the biggest X-Men movie fan, but I love the X-Men.
Yeah, they're great.
You know, and all that's X-Men too.
And remember, guys, this video is brought to you by Crazy Toys. Go get yourself a Crazy Toy.
And what would you give it out of 10?
A 7.
I give it a 6.
There we have it.
So if you want more nonsense and hear some pre-game and post-game stuff regarding it and some spoilery thoughts and all that kind of stuff, feel free to check out Nerd Rage. And if you want that Rogue One episode, check out 69, which was a really good episode anyway.
Best of our episodes, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
So we just sat there.
Top bracket, for sure.
Definitely. Top third bracket.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.